And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Wayne Cesaro, who had a near-death experience due to a heart attack from respiratory failure. Wayne, thanks for joining me and welcome.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it very much.
Wayne, let's start on the day that this happened and go from there.
I was sick and didn't know it. Well, I had a cold. That's what I thought. But it was a little bit more than that, it turned out. My granddaughter, I babysat for her for one day and took whatever she had. And then she came down with a few things and I started feeling like a cold. So it really wasn't a big deal, or at least I didn't think so, because I rarely, if ever, get sick. So I didn't think much about it. Now, I live on acreage, and I had a bunch of firewood that had to get split. I had logs. I had to split the logs and such. So on the day, I was feeling a little bit like this and that, and, nose is this, maybe a little tired and a little short of breath, but didn't really think much of it. So went down to go and start taking a bunch of rounds and turning them into 5 cords of split wood. I started doing that, and every time I stood up, I would get vertigo. Over about 3 or 4 hour period, the vertigo started to get a lot worse. And then a component of having a hard time breathing started to come in. It got pretty bad for a while, so I did something that I never do, which is leave the tools right where they were, go up to the house, and I was going to rest. I figured I'll rest, I'll take it easy, I'll go back down, I'll clean up later. Okay, so walk up the hill to the house. I get into the yard, I close the gate behind me, and then it was like a Mack truck just hit me. Boom. I fell to my knees and I couldn't breathe. My breathing was forced. I would have to push the air out and then gulp it back in as best as I can, because breathing actually was a strenuous activity. So it was more like a, and then in real quick. For some reason, I couldn't expel the air very well. Okay, that lasted for a little bit, and I'm still in the yard. And then I try to stand up, and the next thing I know, I'm flat out on the ground. After a few minutes of that, I started to get fear. Fear came in and started hitting me up. So luckily, I had my phone with me. I called 911. Being in a rural area, the 911 medics take a while to get to you. So I was there for a while. And at the same time that I was there, the 911 call center person stayed on the line with me. Now, I was able to communicate with her to ask her, or to have her instruct my daughter on the phone, who she called my daughter and instructed her to come to the house, take care of the animals, because I have a few horses and dogs. Take care of the animals, make sure they're secure, and then come on up to the hospital, figuring you'll come on up and get me, because I'll be ready to go by the time you get there. Okay, so she ended up disobeying, and I'll tell you about how in a little bit. So the 911 responders get to me, and I somehow make it clear to them, as they're talking about what's going on, that I'm a DNR, do not resuscitate. I figured if my body goes, then that's it. It's time to go, because I keep in good shape. I'm over 70 years old, and I'm a certified trainer. So I'm in the gym at least 5 times a week, and that's part of the reason why I don't get sick, because I take care of myself. So when I was sick, when all this started, I didn't imagine it could possibly have a problem, but they get me, the 911 medics get me to the hospital, and that's about the time when I really started to black out. Now, in the process between getting hit by the Mack truck and getting into the ER, things were kind of muddled. I mean, I was seeing shadows and blobs as opposed to a person or something. And I was in and out of consciousness, so my memory was a little bit unclear, but I interviewed everybody after the fact and got some better information. So a lot of what I'm going to mention to you on the outside is what I got from my daughter and from the technicians and such. So, okay, I get in there and I'm I'm hearing different sounds and all this other stuff, and they understand it's a DNR case, so they're not supposed to do anything other than keep me comfortable and try to get me to get back to breathing. And I I just started to get some strange feeling where I no longer felt my body at all, and I started to feel detached from my body. And also had the feeling that I was leaving my body. Now, I must say, I'm uh, I was a member of the spiritualist community. Metaphysical spirituality is something I've trained in and practiced for a good 20, 30 years. At one point, I was a minister in a spiritualist church. So meditation, astral projection, if you like, speaking with celestial beings and sitting in circles with other people, which would be known as a seance, but to us it's a circle, but people call it seances, where we communicate with spirit guides, angels, and other sainted beings. That has been something that I've been doing for a number of years. So here I am in the emergency room, half in and half out of a consciousness on the table, and I realize I'm starting to leave my body. And it's like, how can this be happening? I haven't set up any meditation techniques. I haven't been doing anything. I have no intention, but I'm leaving my body. And poof, I was out of the body. So I can explain it best as phases, because when this happened, I'm going to fast forward to the point to where I came out of everything. I'm back into consciousness. When I became conscious, I knew that something happened. I knew that I experienced something, and I knew that I kind of remembered it or would remember it, but at the time, I didn't remember. At the time when I came out of consciousness, uh, I was sedated. I had an intubation tube placed into me. I was shot full of steroids for 3 days, and I was in an ICU unit and unconscious. So for a short period of time, I became somewhat conscious and realizing what happened. And as a matter of fact, when they finally did take me off of intubation and sedation, and my daughter was sitting there next to me, she says, all I was saying was, what happened? What happened? And so she'd go in and she'd explain to me, well, you were splitting wood, you walked up to the house, and next thing you know, you called 911. And I'm thinking, and then I started saying, no, no, no. And she didn't understand where I was coming from. But where I was coming from was here. I'm out. I'm out of my body. I no longer have any feeling whatsoever of an association with anything physical. I'm sitting there, I'm there, and it feels like I'm laying down. Everything around me is white, as if I would be in the middle of a white cloud with a lot of sunlight coming in. It wasn't the impenetrable white light, it was comfortable white light. What I got from the white light, it felt like the white light was everywhere around me. I have no body or nothing, and I'm even part of the white light. And then the white light seemed to have a consciousness that commanded me compassionately, peace, be at peace. Okay, I'm at peace. For some period of time, then I started to get feelings. The feelings that I got came in from different charismata. the feeling of being that I used to get when I was on my grandmother's lap when I was a child, and she would wash my face before sending me off to school. The feeling that I would have when a buddy came up and elbowed me into the side and joked around with me. That feeling. The feeling of on the deck of a boat under full sail and with the wind and spray in my hair. These feelings were associated with some cohesive consciousness. And nobody was really identified. It's just that it was, the feeling of my grandmother. It was the same feeling that I had when my grandmother washed my face on her lap. And it was associated with something. So I'm sitting there or laying there on this bed for quite some time, and I'm getting one feeling after another from all these different experiences, and all the experiences seem to have been memories or coming from when I was younger. Good. Now, after a while, that phase ends, and it seems as if I'm transferred into another phase. Now, the other phase had a lot of visions, and then that is when I started to see representations of individuals. It seemed as if I was being presented by people. For example, my wife passed away several years ago. I saw my wife. It wasn't a personal kind of meeting where we communicated and hugged or anything. It was as if she was being presented to me, and I saw her as she looked 40 years ago, even better, and she was surrounded by members of the animal kingdom and what looked as if they were sainted beings behind her because they kind of glowed, and she was presented to me. Okay, and then she shuffled off to the side, or the next part of attention was someone else was presented to me, and then another, and then another, and then another. And all of these people, or all of the presentations was everyone that I knew, as opposed to a lot of people that I didn't know. So with the presentations would come a feeling. And some people I knew tormented me when I was younger. The feelings that I got with whoever was there, though, was a feeling of peace, serenity, calmness, of wholeness, of togetherness. My wife, peace, serenity, calmness, wholeness, togetherness. My relatives, other people that I worked with, other people that I walked with. Every one individual that was presented to me that I saw, I seemed to have shared some kind of connection with. And the connections all were happy, loving, kind, generous. It was amazing, lovely. Oh, God, it was so good. Even the people that I came across that were a real pain in the neck at times, even, let's say, enemies, they still presented in the same manner the feelings that were elicited from me in my heart, or whatever my heart area, was the same. Peaceful, agreement, together. We were one. There wasn't any argument associated with it. There was no hard time. There was nothing. It was all as if we're one people, one person. We love each other. We are resolved. Whatever it was, whatever the deal was resolved. It was no longer wife, family member, former girlfriend, enemy, somebody who scanned me. So it wasn't that. They were all one. Everything was the same. and the same, and by the same I mean loving, compassionate, kind. Yeah. This went on for a while. And then after a while, we went to the next phase. The next phase, I can only tell you, seemed like the only thing I can recall to that phase was it felt like I was working. Now, I used to be an IT infrastructure manager, project manager, and I'm program manager. And when you're sitting down there working and, in a work mode, you feel like you're in a work mode. You're being utilized and you're doing something. The feelings I got from the third phase was of employment, utility, use. I was doing something. I had a job and I was doing the job and very involved in it. That was nice. It seemed like good. I'm not just laying around. I'm actually doing something constructive. The aspect of working and being utilized then shifted to what I can associate with a planning phase. So being a project manager, I'll hit a spreadsheet and I'll take all these little activities and put the activity, you take care of the activities, you do the activities, and the activities get you your results or a product or something done. Now, when you're sitting down there with your spreadsheet in front of you at the computer and you're starting to list out the activities, who's going to do them and how they're going to take care of them, and how much time and money it should cost, you're in a planning phase. When you sit down there and you work in a planning phase for a few hours, you get the feeling, you get into the mood, you get into the feeling, you get a synchronicity with planning. The feeling I got in this final phase was a feeling of planning. I was planning something. And the something was associated with a representation of the earth, the world, the life that we live, and the things that we do here. Now, just as I was completely and totally immersed in all this stuff and feeling the feelings that I was getting and seeing, mostly it was all feelings. Some was that, as far as my memories were going, a few of them were visions, things that I saw. But then all of a sudden, again, with no control, I get whisked up, sucked up into something else. Because I can feel at each different phase, I felt a shift. I'm in a white cloud laying on a bed. Shift. I'm in a hall. People are being presented to me. Shift. I'm working. I'm doing something. I'm being utilized to my full potential. Shift. I'm planning. I'm planning to take some activity or do something having to do with life on Earth, life in this world that we know. And then, whoosh! The only thing I can think of this last whoosh would be there's a pile of dust on the floor and you've got a vacuum cleaner and you stick that vacuum cleaner in next to the dust and that dust just goes whoosh. I felt like a piece of dust getting whooshed. And that's when I started to feel human again. Because right in my face is my Uncle Ralphie. And I remember thinking, wait a minute, Uncle Ralphie, you can't be here. You died. My Uncle Ralph died 10 years ago. And that's the face. And he says to me, don't be an idiot. Tell your story. And his face changed into this guy who had a rounder face, little puffy cheeks, almost hairless, big glasses, and he's shouting at me. That's something, and it sounds something like, "You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay." And I hear the word sedation, and then that was it for that part. I was out. I was sedated and out. That's when they put the tube in. That's when I was breathing on my own, but they used the intubator to assist in my breathing so that my lungs would have a little easier course. And they shot me full of steroids for 3 days to heal the lungs. And then next thing I know, I'm starting to come out of consciousness. My daughter's next to me, and she tells me that I'm just sitting here saying, or laying there saying, what happened? What was that? What happened? What happened? And she said, well, so it turned out I had RSV, I had pneumonia, and I had the flu. They tested me. Somewhere between getting in the yard and getting into the ER, I had a heart attack. And from the exertion of trying to breathe and move. My heart stopped since a lot was going on, for between 1 minute and 21 seconds and 2 minutes and 20 seconds. There was a little bit of confusion because my daughter did not obey. I asked her to go home, check on, secure the animals. She didn't. She went right to the hospital. As she walked into the hospital room, into the ER, into the room that I was in, I was coding. She instructed or commanded that she informed everyone that she's the power of attorney, my personal representative, and she commanded them to resuscitate. So she resuscitated me, and she said she figured if I'm going to live, I'll live, and if I'm going to die, I don't, my body's ready, I'll go, no problem. And if there's any problem with that requires care and assistance, she'll take care of it. She'll be responsible. So she disobeyed my DNR, and I'm fine with that. And that was it. Now, if I think about, and as when I came out, she says, what happened? What happened is what I was saying. And now the only thing I can think of, or the only thing I think is why? 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 The feelings that I had when all throughout, every memory was cherished and loving memories. Every presentation, every individual, both sainted and non-sainted, we were in complete harmony. Complete. It was so happy. I was so happy. I was complete. I was serene. And now I'm back. And I don't understand why, other than, okay, my Uncle Ralphie said, don't be an idiot, right? Tell your story. I've got writing. All through the years that I was teaching and doing all the work in spirituality, I wrote. I always wrote a lot of stuff. I write what I'm going to talk about at the next Sunday service, or I'd write my notes for a class that I'm teaching. I threw everything that I wrote together, tied it in with a story, and published a book. And it's not like the book is one of the greatest books in the world or anything, and it's not going to make a big difference in the grand scheme of things. But that's the only story I can think of. And I mean, I like life. I love life. It's great. I love where I'm at. I love my community. I have a very good life. It's great having grandkids. I'm very active with them. So it's not a matter of I'm a miserable wreck. Why am I still here? I'm happy. But the difference between sitting here being happy and wherever I was and that happy is hundreds of times it's just off the scale, off the charts. There is no I do not have the words to explain the experience that I had. It's just that the only thing that really sticks with me is the peace. The peace. Everything. The world was perfect. It I beyond anything I could ever imagine or ever experienced. And poof, here I am. It took about a month for me to recover from this episode. Um, I'm back at it, back in the gym, training people, uh, you know, playing author and publisher, and babysitting every Monday for with the grandkids, and still, just like every time I think about it, yeah, it's just it's an internal journey. Um, and I always, like now, even I just get back into it, and I'm just fixated on it. I'm just thinking about it and just feeling it, the peace, the enjoyment, the harmony with everything and everyone and everything, everybody, every whatever that I came across. So now, maybe from my spiritual endeavors, I may have painted some of my memories. I don't know. All I can say is I I I can't. I don't want to say I welcome it again, because that's kind of like saying, oh, so no, it's not like that. But man, it seems like if it ever happens, whenever, the only things that you can be sure of around this world is death. You're going to die, and you're going to pay taxes while you're alive. Death and taxes. Okay. Well, I pay my taxes every year, and when it comes time for the ending, uh, it's going to be. I'm 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 going to be fine with it. So I don't know if that make any sense to you.
Yes, it did.
But okay, that's kind of like it's I don't know. I've done some reading on it, and some people will say that they see this and they see the other thing and they see all the other things, all this stuff, and I see different impressions or representations of what their experience was and mine. It seems to me that the common thread through it is the experience is expressed in a way that is relatable. We can relate. So for me, my relatable was the feelings that I had that tied me to individuals. Um, that little laugh, that little joy, that little comfort. I mean, when you're sitting on your grandmother's lap, uh, and you have the warm washcloth over you, it's nice, it's warm, it's all that. But there's more to being comforted by your grandmother or your mom when you're crying. It's not just a matter of being comfortable with warmth and environmental. It's that sense of security, that sense of peace, that all is right with the world. That's why a crying baby stops crying when mama picks the baby up. It's not just the baby's now warm, it's just the baby is in a perfect world for. And that those feelings kept hitting me over and over again. When it came to actually seeing people or being presented with individuals, I remember one guy named, I forgot his name, Joey Shadler, I think, or something. In the 7th and 8th grade, every time I walked home from school, he was a big guy. He'd always push me around. So he was a tormentor. I saw him. He was there. We communicated. We were in complete harmony. It wasn't like, oh, I pushed you out, I'm sorry. None of that. We didn't even bother with that just stuff. It was more or less, when you see somebody that you haven't seen in a while, and you take them and you hug them and you bring them in close to you, and I'm so glad to see you. That's what it was like with everyone. the utility phase. I was doing something. It's like I have a job to do. It was the same feeling as if I'd be sitting down there working through a problem at work and concentrating for a day or two, or sitting there when I'd be at the office in the data center on the weekend because we're working some project. That sense and feeling of utility. And then definitely the sense and feeling of planning. When I'm planning, working on a project and building up its steps, I'll take it a 6 or 7 hour day and I'll just be sitting there working and thinking up the whole thing, start to finish. Every little detail. Here's an activity, a task to be done. Who's going to do it? How long is it going to take? What tools are necessary? Next task. Next activity. Okay, put these 3 tasks together. Boom. We got a server that's built with an operating system and power and data. Not that it's the activities, it's just that the feeling you get when you're sitting in your chair for 6 hours and you're planning and you're starting to really hum along. That's what the feeling of was. And then, poof, Uncle Ralph. So what was Uncle Ralph? Was Uncle Ralph the time when they shocked my chest and started me beating again? I don't know. I can't say because I don't know that. All I know is they shocked me. I came to, and since I wasn't sedated at the time, I had a bit of consciousness, and that's when I see the doctor's face is what I saw, it turned out. But at the same time, Marie was in the background because I heard her talking, and some of the things that she was saying was very, there was a little bit of crying, and at the same time, she was very insistent at whatever it was that she wanted, because she's a very strong-minded woman.
You said you were presented your wife. You were presented other people in your life. I've never heard anybody talk like that before. Do you think God or the afterlife were presenting these people to you to acclimate you to the other side?
It could be. There did seem to be a prime actor. So the first part, when I was in the cloud and I was compassionately commanded to be at peace, it did seem that there was a coordinator or a process. The presenting. Imagine back in the 30s when they had the movies about the King of England and all this, or in the big balls that they would have, and they had someone would come in and there would be this guy over there with a staff, and he'd bang bang on the ground and say, "My lord, it is the Chancellor of Everett," so something like that, to where the person would be announced and then they'd walk in. Not that I'm the king sitting on a throne, but my feeling was as if I would have been sitting in a spot and the person was somebody, there was like an announcement of some type, and here comes the person. Now, was that having everyone I knew and communicated with and came in contact with, coming back and being, a quick summary of our life together? If it was, then the communication, as I received it, was that feeling of harmony. So I can just say that every entity or every person that was presented was harmonious. I mean, there was also my horse Spike that I had. There was a dog Vito that I had who, went to heaven a long time ago. Even they were there. So it's like every individual that I ever came across or was affected by me and my actions was there, presented. And the presentation elicited feelings of harmony, peace, resolution, trust, and completeness.
For the people that you didn't know, Did you remember them once you got back?
No. And see, I don't remember. And once I got back, I don't remember who they were, who I saw. I remember my wife, of course, because that's 35 years ingrained into my mind. But I don't remember now who they were, but I remember the memory that they were everyone I ever knew and people I didn't know. Kind of, I don't know if I'm clear on that, on how I explain that. It seemed, it's like, no, I didn't know it was you, but I knew for some reason that it was all of my good friends. Okay, so you're one of my good friends, so it must have been you too. And then I didn't know the people. I never got to meet the people that I didn't know, but I knew there was these different people, and something tied us together. Some activity, thought, intention, action tied us together, and our communication was, we are in harmony, we are at peace, we trust each other, we are whole. So most, all of this, like, I wish I could say, I wish it was such to where I had the memories where I could say yes, and there were these lights and those pictures and this. There are a couple of scenes that I could recall that I did have memory with, and I wrote those down. But but in general, the thing that kept hitting me was the impressions and the feelings, and that's and the way it came to, and the way I keep it in my memories is to know that I know I have the memory that I saw these people, but I can't tell you exactly who they were, and I don't know who they are now. I do believe, though, I saw a couple of people were presented to me that are still alive. So that part was. I remember also that I saw some people that are still alive. So it's not just a matter of everybody out there that was presented, or everybody out there who I shared feelings with were people who died, but they were people. Some of them were alive. So
How have you resolved that puzzle about how an alive person was still presented to you?
There is a duality in life, as far as I believe. And I do feel that there is some part of our soul, consciousness, spirit that resides in the celestial. Some people will refer to it as the higher self, for example. So I do feel that there is always some kind of connection, and that while they have the term, as is here is above, as is in earth is in heaven. So I do feel that I'm here in the flesh. Here's my consciousness. Okay, it's just the soul. Here's the spirit. All right. There is an attachment and connection to some aspect of me in this other unseen world. So that's how I can. That's my resolution to that.
It brings up an interesting question to think about.
Mm.
For example, what if somebody that we knew has crossed over to the other side, and what if that part of ourselves has met him or her? Would we notice any difference about our feelings of this person here in this life?
Mm. Perhaps if I were able to exactly remember who and what my feelings were then, here in this life, I may then translate that into realizing we're both the same. We're made of the same stuff. We have more in common. Our feelings together We are both vulnerable. We are both gentle, or we are both fragile. I would think that it would give us more of an understanding of the other person. So perhaps some of the people I didn't know who were presented that were my tormentors, perhaps some of them are alive. And if I met them, would I then start to see our similarities instead of our roadblocks or our walls that we built up between each other? Because I mean, we keep on talking about different civilizations, societies, philosophies, and all, and everybody, even now in communication, when we talk about civil communication with each other, we try to stress that there is more in common with each other. We have more in common with one another than we have separating ourselves. So let's start that communicative process as equals, as persons who are the same in general, that we have the same interests, the same things that we need to have done for us. We have the same needs, and we have the same fears. So perhaps that is more of that would be a little bit more of a resolution from how I would react when I saw someone alive, when I saw them when I was in a state that I can't explain, when my heart was stopped.
You're also a medium and a clairvoyant.
Mm.
Did you have that ability before the NDE?
Mm.
And if so, did the NDE change that ability in any way?
First answer is yes. I remember my first out-of-body experience when I was 4 years old. I remember I was 5 years old, and I was playing in class and trying to teach my desk mate how to levitate a piece of paper by, although I didn't know what any of these terms were when I was 5 years old, by meditating and raising your vibrations. Now, I don't know if the paper really lifted up any. I explained it. I showed him how the paper lifted when I breathed down the table and it lifted the paper up. I said, okay, you just simply go in there, and what you're going to do is, instead of breathing air in there, you're going to think space, and you're going to lift the paper up. So I know since a very young age, I was into a lot of different things that other people aren't into. I remember my first experiences meditation and projection and visions, seeing spirit guides all along. The first time was at a dinner when I was 22 years old. It was boom, there was a spirit guide right next to my friend, and I saw the spirit guide clearer than I saw everybody else at dinner. And it was a golden Indian. And the next day, my friend came up to me and told me, it says, I didn't want to talk about it then because we were all goofing around. But, last year I went to New Mexico and I met some shamans, and they told me that my spirit guide was a golden Indian. It's like, oh, okay, I guess I validated that. So I've been seeing a lot of stuff and doing a lot of work for a long time. I've retired. I've retired from teaching. I've retired from doing a lot of work. I still relax, meditate, but most of the time, meditation I'm doing now is to relax and to calm, just rest. There's no utility in it. I'm not meditating in purpose to go and call a spirit and have a communication, or to give someone a reading. Here's what your guides are saying, for example. None of that anymore. So the first part of the question, the answer is yes, for a long time. The second part of the question, the answer would be not really. And part of that is because I retired. I haven't been doing this stuff or being public with it for 10 years now. And being in the position where I have my past and I have my retirement and this is fine, I'm just living now. I'm living every day, looking at the world, seeing how the truth is stranger than fiction and how crazy things are and how magnificent things are. And I accept everything now. I accept. So even before so what I have now after is pretty much what I had before, except now there is a certain, I don't know how else to say it, longing. And the longing is I want to be in that feeling, in that space more. How can I be in that space more? I don't know. I'm pretty cool now. It's pretty good now. I don't, knock on wood. I'm very, very fortunate to have the life I have. And, I've had, I was married for 33 years and, got a couple of kids that are great and grandkids and all that. So there's a lot of, good love and feelings and, but man, this is just nothing compared to what I was feeling there. I would rather be there, but if being there means being dead here, I'm not saying it that way. I have no death wish. I have no death wish at all. It's just that what I saw was a confirming point for me to where there are no enemies there. There are no difficult, hard feelings. It's like everybody grew up and they're adults and they get along. Now, I would love to see everyone around me grow up, get along, and be adults. So maybe I could try to help that process along with people a little bit more. Maybe if I came out of retirement, I can help the process a little more. Now, I have a couple of clients in my training business, which are basically friends who are hitting the age of 60, and they've realized that they've worked their butts off from all through their 50s. And one person, for example, she just got a brand new grandbaby. And it's like, what are you going to do when you're 73-year-old? Your grandson is 13, and he wants you to follow him up a hill. You're going to be able to make that hill? Well, you start working out now and exercising now and getting some good activity habits. And when you're 73, you'll have no problem at all going up that hill with your grandson. Maybe if I come out of retirement a little bit more, build my trainer practice and add a certain aspect of a certain aspect of what? A certain aspect of philosophy that we all get along. I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. I don't know. I just know that, boy, it was really. I just wish it could be like that all the time. Here. It's not, and it's not something that I say, I wish I could be like that all the time, because it's not just me. It's when everyone is together in harmony and in good health and doing things that are good things, that's where I want to be. So can I do something to help it get that way? I don't know. I've been thinking about it, but first things first is I gotta renew my certification for trainer. So I gotta go back into classes, and I wrote a book, and the book gives the history and the story, novel story form, and there are a lot of lesson in that book, and a lot of insights, and a lot of clarity for people who are confused, who have these feelings, these strange feelings or visions or energies or insights, and they don't know what they're dealing with. I was that way too a long time ago. Here's how I worked it. So, I guess maybe I'm doing what I can after the fact, because if it didn't happen, I likely would not be a personal trainer. I likely would have left every written thing I did on the computer, not put it together. I would not have spent thousands of dollars publishing the thing and marketing it. So I don't know, maybe it did change me afterwards, but in a way that I really can't put a finger on to say it's one thing or one attitude or one thought. It's more like, but I can say that it's more of an all-encompassing movement.
What's the title of your book and where can people find out more about it?
Sure. The title is Spirit Guides and Angels, Death and Taxes. That's the Spirit Guides and Angels, Death and Taxes by Wayne R. Cesaro. And it's available on Amazon. It's available at Barnes & Noble. It is in paper, hardback, softcover, and electronic book. And in about a month, it'll be out in an audio book at Audible. So it's out there and it's available.
Do you have a website?
I do. It is CesaroTheAuthor.com. That's CesaroTheAuthor.com. And you'll find links there into a little bit about the author, about history, about some other things that I do, and links run into where you can purchase the book.
Do you have a contact page there in case people would like to ask you questions?
Yes, and I'm also on Facebook and Instagram and Goodreads. And in those areas and social media, I am author Wayne Cesaro. So I have a page, for example, in Facebook. So if you go @author Wayne Cesaro, it'll bring you to my page. Right now, I'm posting a lot about orbs. I have a photo library of orbs that some people see, especially with the camera. So I've got a couple hundred pictures out, and information about the books and such is there also.
Wayne, before we finish up, can you leave us with a last positive message?
Yes. Don't have fear. Don't fear. Don't fear. There is nothing to fear. There is nothing to fear for yourself or for others. I've lost my wife of 33 years, a little while ago now. I understand what it's like when a loved one passes. And, there's an empty spot in my heart. There's a hole in the heart, like with everyone. But not only from what I saw and what I felt, but from everything else it's telling me. I know, she's in a good place. Then your loved one is in a good place. They're in good hands. And the more love you have here in this world, maybe it'll give you a lot more love in that world, but it's good.
Wayne, thank you for your message, and thank you for being my guest.
Thank you for having me. I certainly do appreciate it. It's very therapeutic, and I hope it made some sense for you.
It did.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.